TWM Podcast.
Hello and welcome to TWM Talks, brought to you by TWM Wrestling, bringing you news, reviews and interviews 6 days a week. Check us out at www.twm.news. We are now on YouTube, so make sure you head over there to subscribe to us for all of our latest content, as well as on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbeam, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Longwave Radio, Pirate Radio, Ham Radio, whatever you use to listen to stuff, we're there. Do you like wrestling? Of course you do. You're listening to this podcast. Sign up to WrestleCrate using the code TWM Wrestling and get a free autographed item. Now, these guys have got autographs from the likes of Edge, Finn Balor, Christian. I've got a ton of these myself, and they're pretty awesome, so I highly recommend. As well as that, you can get t-shirts, pins, DVDs, figures, magazines. This really is a must for all wrestling fans. You can sign up today at wrestlecrate.co.uk and use code TWM Wrestling to get a free autograph. Do you love sport? Because we love sport. We're brought to you by the We Love Sport app, available on the Apple and the Android stores. If you're looking for a bar to go and watch the wrestling or the football, the rugby, the cricket, the tennis, F1, boxing, UFC, water polo, whatever sport you want to watch, download the app today and find out where to watch it. That's the We Love Sport app. I recently saw a video from the screening of a Royal Rumble that these guys held in Glasgow, and when Drew McIntyre won the Rumble, my word, the roof blew off the place. With WrestleMania just around the corner, find your nearest bar to go and watch it. Download the We Love Sport app today. This week's guest is the sickest guy in professional wrestling. Surfing the waves as well as the internet. He's the star of YouTube shows Escaping the MIDCARD and Peter and the Pan. You can catch him at promotions up and down the country, including Progress, Fight Club Pro, Attack, Riptide, and anywhere with as good wrestling. He's one of my favourite wrestlers, so it was an absolute pleasure to speak with him. This week's guest is Chuck Mambo. Chuck, thanks for joining me on the show today. An absolute pleasure to have you.
Hey, yeah, no, thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited to be here. Well, it sounds weird saying here, because obviously I'm in my bedroom and I don't know where you are, but you know what I mean. I'm excited to be on the show.
Here in spirit.
Indeedy.
I want to start by congratulating you on a great 2019. I think it's fair to say that 2018 was your big breakout year, but 2019 is the year that's really solidified you as a top talent on the UK scene.
Oh, thank you, man. That's really nice to hear. Nice start to things. Yeah, cheers. I was actually, in 2018, I was planning to sort of plant the seeds for 2019 to be my breakout year, but luckily, I got to wrestle Zack Sabre, and then that changed everything, so that was nice. And probably for the best, because I always think I got loads of time, but I mean, I'm 27 now, so it'd be good to, I'm glad that I've broken out.
Well, unfortunately, Julius Caesar invented the calendar, and we now find ourselves in 2020.
Yes, Caesar, you son of a bitch.
You know, I thought he invented the salad, but apparently it was the calendar.
Really?
Well, I googled
How did the salad get his
know
name?
if that's true.
Well, I can't see why the internet would ever say anything that wasn't true.
Coming up, you have a big match against Jordan Devlin.
Ooh, yeah, man. Talk about breaking out.
This match mean to you?
Dude, it means a lot to me because Fight Club have obviously given me like so many of my big opportunities. They took me to America for Mania weekend. They put me in contact with Sami Callihan to go and stay with him, which led to all the cool stuff in America. And pretty much, what was it, like maybe even 3 years ago now, I offered to drive Eddie for the Dream Tag Team Invitational, and Zachy was like, "Oh no, like we don't need any drivers, but if you just want to come along, then do." And they like had me on the coach. They like, obviously I watched all the shows. They like, had a room for me in the hotel and everything. They were just so like needlessly welcoming and everything. And then on that tour, Mark Andrews invited me to come and play the Love Making Demon at Attack. So that weekend, it was the weekend when it was like British Strong Style against Being the Elite and everything. And
right, so that would have
not
been
Being
like
the Elite, the Elite.
the first ever DTTI.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, in the actually that match took place in that ridiculous venue, like the Asian banqueting suite.
Is that right? It was like across the road from the Fiction or whatever it's called. I think. Well, anyway, it was a wicked tour. So that whole weekend, like, also the wrestling blew my mind and like changed my whole perspective on wrestling. But also it was like a giant. Like I can never thank them enough for how much it helped me in wrestling and feel more like welcomed by the whole wrestling community and stuff. So that was wild. And then since then, like I say, they've given me all those wicked opportunities, and it's been super fun to be in all the scrambles, and I do love a scramble. But 2 years later, it's a big chance for me. I had a singles match against Timothy Thatcher on the Schadenfreude show, and I actually won by submission, which I think is pretty cool. But it's definitely my biggest opportunity in a long time to show that I can hang in like a singles capacity at Fight Club, which to me is maybe the coolest wrestling company in the country. Just in a warehouse, like kind of by wrestlers for wrestlers, just fucking awesome, always such a cool vibe, craziest matches ever. So it means a whole heap. I'm psyched for it. And thank you,
for sure.
Club. Also, when you watch Jordan Devlin's one of those guys, a lot like Mark Andrews or something. Like anytime you watch him, I just find myself being like, fuck, he's the best. Like there'll be like 2 or 3 or 4 points in the match. It's like, well, he's the best. So I'm very excited. I got to wrestle him once at Riptide, in fact.
Oh yeah,
beat him. Yeah. So whose number?
Did you see his incredible match on the NXT UK Takeover?
Oh my god, I did. It was something, wasn't it? That whole pay-per-view just banged so hard.
Yeah, that's incredible. Incredible
match. Oh my lord, yeah. When they did the strike down, and then they do like a strike down after the strike down where they're on the floor. I think like Tyler throws up a bop bang thing, and then Jordan comes back with a headbutt, but they're like already lying down or something like that. It was a thing of beauty.
For sure. So you've been in your fair share of tournaments the past couple of years. The Progress World Cup, the Super Strong Style 16, the Riptide tournament.
Oh, yeah.
You won that, right?
Yes, I did. I was a champion for, I think, over a year. But sadly, that came to an end this year. But nevertheless, it was a hell of a tournament. It was so fun as I was there for like 3 days. Got to swim in the sea every morning, which was cool. Although every night, like, because it was the summer, you could see like literally 100 drunk people pissing in it. So that was a shame. But it was still very nice. Somehow, like, as wear and tear as wrestling is, I tend to be fine from matches. But going into that tournament, like the weekend before, I just lifted like a kid up on my shoulders to like take a photo at a smaller show somewhere else, and when I was putting him down, my like neck and shoulder just were like, hey, fuck you, Chuck. And it just sucked so hard I could like barely turn my neck. But the best feeling is just going into the sea. That really helped a lot for that tournament, so that was nice. But that was that was a really fun tournament. That was like one of my first main event matches where I felt like, oh yeah, I'm comfy right here.
And I bet it's an absolute honor to have, a growing company like that actually put the title on you and say, here you go, here's a ball, run with it. You're the main guy here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's just super duper flattering, like you're saying, and also like not as in like smart to put the belt on me, but I think Riptide were really smart the way they kind of booked a lot of dream matches with like incredible like wrestlers that you couldn't really not buy a ticket for, but then for that whole first year or so they were like building up what would become like the the main event people with like storylines alongside all these dream matches, so that by the time they moved us up to the main event, people were already invested in us as characters and stuff. And yeah, that's another one. Like I was saying with Fight Club, they've done so much for my career. Riptide, the bloody blind faith they put in me has been really, really nice. Can't ever thank them enough either. You'll find I'm quite a kiss ass as this interview goes on, but yeah, no, it was really a big honor.
And another tournament you were in recently, the Infinity tournament at Fight Club, you actually made it to the finals.
Hell yeah, I did. Pin Jordan Devlin, I might add, to a resounding boo from the crowd, which is fair enough. But yeah, that was wild. I didn't even know. Wow, I had no idea. It was wild.
And another Fight Club tournament in the coming months, the DTTI. Could we possibly see you and TK entering?
Oh man, I would love that so hard. That would be the best. We are trying to get as many tag bookings as we can this year. So, I mean, obviously, if there was any place to be, it would be the DTTI. I mean, for me, that's like one of the like real peaks of tag team wrestling. Like what Super Strong Style 16 is to me for singles wrestling is what DTTI is for me for tag wrestling, if that makes sense. So, I mean, best case scenario it would be this year, but if it's not this year, then hopefully next year. You know, that's like the real goal for me in reference to ETM.
Another tournament.
There's been a lot of tournaments.
Another tournament which I think you'd fit right in. I've seen you have a death match.
Yes, you have. Ricky Shane Page, right?
Yeah, you were bleeding like mad.
Oh, was it the one with Eddie in the barn?
Oh, yeah, that one as well.
Yeah, that was more blood than I was expecting. That was like the second or third show my brother's ever come to see. And, yeah.
It gave me the real, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes vibe with your blonde hair just covered in blood.
yeah, something like that.
So that coupled with, and I know you have some history in CZW, Chuck Mambo, a tournament of death.
Oh my lord! I think if the tournament didn't kill me, my girlfriend would. But oh man, that would be something, dude. Yeah, if people would be interested to see that, because yeah, I actually really enjoyed deathmatch wrestling. Not that I've done a lot of it, but I enjoy watching it, and the few that I've had, although I've been lucky to be in there with people that are very good at it. But I was trained by Jimmy Havoc, so I would I'd definitely be game for Tournament of Death. But I don't know if they really want me. The first time I wrestled at CZW, I was on this pay-per-view thing. I was like 6 months into training. Coming out, I was like even hookier than I am now. And this guy in the crowd just goes, "Hey, who the fuck is this guy? He doesn't deserve to be here." Which, I mean, he was probably right. But
how did that all come about?
So, when I was at uni, I made friends with these American fellas, and I said when I was 21 and I could drink and like party with them, I would come out to America. So I was going to go and meet them and stuff, but then before that, when I booked the tickets, I guess, but before I'd gone, Drake Younger, or like Drake Wirtz, was doing a tour of seminars in the UK, like before he went to the WWE to ref. And I went to 2 of his seminars, and he was like, oh, by the way, he is like the coolest, most positive, upbeat guy I've ever met in my life. But he was saying, oh, if you go to DJ Hyde's and train with the CZW dudes, they did Dojo Wars either every Wednesday or every other Wednesday or something like that. And he was like, it'll be good experience, and like good people to train with. And then so I was in my head, because I was going to New Jersey anyway, that meant I'd be able to just like catch a ride to the other part of New Jersey where the training school was from my friends. But it turns out New Jersey is like at least as big as England, if not bigger. And then I'm staying in this like really expensive motel in the middle of nowhere, which actually, in credit to DJ Hyde, like at the end of the trip, he was like, why did you do that? You could have just like slept here or stayed on someone's floor. And I was like, man, yeah, I really should have asked. But since then, I've got a lot better at asking. Like these days, it's so nice. Pretty much anywhere you go that there's wrestling, you feel like, you know, there's someone to stay with because everyone's so welcoming and nice and whatnot. But I was a little shyer back then, I suppose. So I didn't want to. So I was staying in this weird motel. There was just like a bar and the wrestling school. But it was really, really fun. And then DJ was like, oh, would you like to be on this iPay-per-view thing? So I like was pretty much a squash match for a dude, but it was fun. Hopefully I get to go back there sometime, maybe for the Tournament of Death.
So another tournament coming up. Actually, I'm not sure if you're in this tournament yet. The Attack Invitational.
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'll be there. Let me try and say the whole name. First annual Embassy Bingo Katay's Invitational Classic. I got it. Nice. It's going to be so sick.
That's an absolute mouthful to pronounce.
It is a real mouthful, yeah. Hey, is that a Welsh accent, by the way?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Hey, nice.
Oh, yeah, you're Welsh, right? Or you're not Welsh, but you're kind of Welsh?
Like, my parents are Welsh, but I was born not in Wales, so I don't know what that makes. I guess I'm Welsh English. People always say I could play rugby for Wales or football for England, but unfortunately I have no interest in either of them. But
well, you didn't represent Wales in the Progress World Cup, though, did you?
No. I guess I'm English.
So speaking of Attack, you're a 4-time 24/7 champion.
Oh, yeah.
You actually won that title 3 times in the same night.
Is that the match with Cara?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, some big names have held that title.
I know, man.
Warren.
Yes. Who had my favorite match of that year against Shay? Oh, my Lord.
Oh, that was so good.
At the walkabout?
You know, I was saying this to Shay before. I was saying how that match against Warren and his match against Chris Roberts are 2 of the best matches I've ever seen.
Honestly,
and
God, yeah.
Against people who don't wrestle, so that just shows how good Shay is.
Shay is the man. He's just and the mistletoe this year when the weird mouse dude was like, sacrifice, and then like all of the crowd were like, oh, sacrifice, I get it. And then my sacrifice music started. It was like, oh my God. I was watching it with my girlfriend and I had to go and stand by myself so that I could be a dork and shout about how excited I was and sing all the words. Shay is just the common denominator in so many phenomenal matches and moments. And, yeah. And he too is in the tournament. Hopefully I get to wrestle him, actually.
Oh, that would be a great match.
Yeah, especially now that he's come out of his Cabal frenzy. I'm Shay Ultra.
Yeah, what was that all about, Shay?
Hey, we all go through our phases with wrestling, you know. We all get in a bit of a funk.
Well, speaking of, you had a bit of a phase in Attack, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
You started, well, I'll let you tell the story.
Oh, when I was the lovemaking demon?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Which actually taken out of context sounds absolutely crazy, but
hopefully the listeners are aware of I was an amorous, I believe, French mouse from the depths of your desire. But I had a blast. It's quite a hard I guess not a hard character, but like I felt like I was finally like hitting my flow, like I could, you know, really wrestle as the demon. And then I decided to turn tail, smack the chief with the most deceptive of the wet floor sign at Attack is kind of like the One Ring from Lord of the Rings. It's just a betrayal weapon. As soon as someone's got a wet floor sign, drama is afoot. Well, you know, you've been there. You've probably been watching shows longer than I've wrestled there. But
do you know, I popped so hard when because I think the the Demon hadn't been around for some time, because I think you'd been wrestling as yourself recently.
Yeah.
And then Demon returns. I lost my shit.
Really?
And then you went and did that.
Palm of my hand, brother. Yeah. I think that was what was kind of cool about it as well. And then, like, it wasn't really like that justified anger on my part, because they'd actually given me spots as myself. So it wasn't like I was even angry that they had kept me in the mouse thing, but following Eddie Dennis's lead to try and save Attack from all the stupid gimmicks that I think are actually what, you know, not the only thing, because the wrestling is top notch, but the weird and wonderfulness is definitely a great part of Attack. So, but I liked playing around with like the idea that like Macho Mambo was an act, and the Lovemaking Demon was an act, but then also like Chuck Mambo was just a performance, and that wasn't sincere too, because that's kind of like a hurtful, because I feel like I have quite a like close connection with the fans, you know, so the idea that that's just an act as well is like quite horrible and mean. So that was interesting to play with. But ironically, of course, the biggest act was me pretending that I didn't like being cheesy and lame.
One of my personal favorites was quite recently when you were Dracula.
Oh man, that was so fun.
Phenomenal.
Do you know that only really happened because like I landed from like Denmark or something the night before, and I was just going around to Cara Noir's house to catch a lift down to Bristol. And I thought it'd be funny to like film a little promo, like some guy just bit me, and then they let me be Dracula like all over the show. Attack's the best, man. They just let you have these stupid ideas and they let you roll with them.
Right, when you had because Gene Money wasn't supposed to be wrestling on that show either.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think he said something came out afterwards. He just turned up with his costume and they decided to book him in a match.
Yeah, that sounds like Attack to me. Yeah.
So when you had
he looks quite Flandersy.
In the corner and you go up and do the 10 punches, but you do the count laugh, I just lost it at that point.
Man, I was so glad that the crowd actually went for that, because I was like, this could be the most awkward, lame thing ever. Like, they don't get it. But,
have you
thank you, man.
You watch it back on VOD, because Eddie is commentating that match, and you can tell he's just rolling his eyes so hard, just absolutely burying you. Like, it sounded so much funnier in Mambo's head than it actually is.
Does he say that?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, maybe the crowd didn't get on board with it then. Oh.
The crowd loved it.
Well, then I'm fine with it. They loved it. I loved it. Me and Eddie are like really similar in a lot of ways, but sometimes our tastes in wrestling are a bit different.
So recently you asked the fans what merch they wanted to see from you, doing a good old bit of market research.
Yeah, that's a really good thing about social media, isn't it? Market research is just 2 thumbs away.
So I'd like to flip that question on its head and ask you, what's your favourite piece of merch that you've ever bought?
Do you know what? I bought a Mark Andrews hoodie. The one with the gorilla on skateboarding, and I can't remember what it says on it. Probably high five and stage. You know, it's in my cupboard right now. I'll take a look. It says Mark Andrews, stage dive, be happy, be happy. Anyway, he was like, oh, like, you know, like you have to pay full price. But I was like, oh, you know, like it's bummer when you buy merch and then because you want to be nice to a friend you end up not making the money back or whatever, so I just sent all the money, and then as a thank you he sent me some Mark Andrews flip-flops.
Oh wow.
I think like him at maybe PWG or like somewhere really cool just printed onto some flip-flops. I'd say that's probably my favorite merch that I've ever bought. Let me think if there's anything else. Nah, nothing comes to mind. I'm sure I'm like going to kick myself after this ends because I'll have missed something really cool.
Well, I mean, the Mark Andrews flip-flops are pretty cool.
I mean, that's pretty peak merch, hey? Oh, you know what else was good? When Roy Johnson was, like, first starting out and he sold his mixtapes in the crowd at Progress. He, like, sold them in the queue.
Oh, did he do that?
Yeah. He made them, I think. Like, he recorded them, like, in his car or something weird. and then, sold them in the queue. Which you got to admire that.
TWM podcasts are brought to you by We Love Sport, the fantastic app finding you your nearest sports bar showing the latest WWE pay-per-views. We Love Sport has over 400 of the best sports bars and pubs in the UK at your fingertips and allows you to book front row seats, giving you the best views of the action. You can also check out what sports are being shown over the next 7 days, making sure you don't miss a second of the action. Download the We Love Sport app on the App Store or Google Play Store. Follow We Love Sport on all social media platforms at We Love Sport UK and check out welovesport.co.
TWM podcasts have joined forces with WrestleCrate, the original and best monthly wrestling subscription service to bring you a fantastic deal. Now, if you use the code TWM Wrestling when you sign up to a monthly subscription at WrestleCrate.co.uk, you will receive a free autographed item inside your first crate. Now, WrestleCrate brings you the best swag from the biggest companies and names in the wrestling world. We're talking t-shirts, photos, pins, DVDs, vinyl figures, and loads more from WWE, Progress, Shakara, NXT, Fight Club Pro, and loads more. That's WrestleCrate.co.uk and use the code TWM Wrestling for a free autographed item, all thanks to WrestleCrate and TWM.
Speaking of merch, I know your merch, you're very ethical in how you source it. Is that right?
I try to be. The thing I have found, because for a while I thought Gildan was okay because I checked this was really early on, I checked their whatever, their little about how we make it page, and they were signed up to some sort of association. But I then later found out that they are basically created this association to give themselves the stamp of approval. But
what?
It's still...
Swerve.
Yeah, that's a real bummer. Hey, because then the things that you have to do to get that stamp of approval are not very high. So I just wouldn't feel very nice profiting off of sort of sweatshoppy labor type stuff. So at the moment I'm using Bellering Canvas t-shirts, which are Fairwear approved, and I looked into Fairwear and they're independent of any company, I'm as best as I can tell anyway, and they have independent audits of the workshop and whatnot to make sure that it's all good. And I'm pretty sure Bellering Canvas, I forget exactly what it is, but they have a smaller environmental footprint than the really bad ones, but not as good as Earth Positive. So I really should try and make the switch to Earth Positive, which I was doing, but it's just quite hard on the low profit margins. But I've been thinking, that was actually why I put up the tweet about what not t-shirt stuff would you like, because did you see that Daniel Bryan promo? I think it was quite a while ago now. It was when he first started going back to the bad guy vegan thing, about how bad t-shirts are for the environment.
Yeah, do you know that whole run of Daniel Bryan's I was blown away with?
Yeah, pretty informative. Sorry, did you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I loved his wooden title. I love that so much that I went out and bought myself a wooden watch just because I liked the look of just the woods.
Oh, yeah, I get that. Yeah, nice. That's cool, man. Oh, sorry, why did I bring that up? Oh, yeah, all that to say, it reminded me of this Greenpeace email about, there was a picture of all of the gross pollution from t-shirts, and I was thinking maybe it's time to step away from t-shirts, because everyone every wrestling fan, and God bless them for supporting so much, but they must have so many T-shirts. I've been trying to think of like things that hopefully will not be too bad on the environment. I mean, I'm saying this now, I'll probably have a new T-shirt out like next month. So, but who was it? Tom Cara was telling me about the place he gets his T-shirts from, and it's like they're all surfers, like old surfers down in Cornwall or something. So they really care about the environment. So they only use the inks that don't hurt the environment too bad, and the T-shirts that are, sustainable. So maybe we'll look into that direction.
Oh, that's awesome. And that would, with the surfer merch, that would definitely, suit your character.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And then another thing that I thought would be cool is I got to say thank you to all the fans that responded on Twitter, actually, because they had some great ideas. Someone said, like, beads and bracelets and necklaces or whatever. That would be fun. It would be nice if I could spend my weekdays just making some bracelets and count that as work. And tote bags, apparently. I always thought tote bags weren't really that cool, but a lot of people seem to like tote bags. So I guess that would help the plastic crisis, because then they can carry a tote bag instead of a plastic one. Yeah.
I can draw some, I forgot what they're called. Raffle tickets out of them.
Ooh, yeah, nice. Yes, now we're talking. He really has been going to attack for a long time.
So, Chuck, I think it's fair to say you made your name in scramble matches, even going so far as to, at one point, carrying around a novelty oversized whisk.
Yeah, scramble master, baby.
So where did the whisk come from?
Backstage at Fight Club once. Trent was like really fixated. He was like, I think you should be like the scrambled king, the scramble master. You should have a sash that says scramble master and then come out on a scrambler. I said, that's a great idea. Yeah, sweet, thanks. But then obviously I couldn't afford a scrambler. But but then I was like, oh, cool. Maybe I'll have like a whisk this week, and then next week I'll have 2 whisks, and then it will become a solid gold whisk, and then I'll make like a crown of whisks. But unfortunately, I never made the crown of whisks. And then actually, and again, just big thanks to Fight Club, because they always go above and beyond. Like, they'd sorted out this huge, humongous whisk for me to beat the scramble master, and then that night I actually lost it to Dan Maloney. So, and then it was never seen again, tragically.
Well, I think he's now unified it with the Fight Club Pro title.
Yes, so unified champion. I'll fight him for the whisk.
I think that means you're due a rematch, right?
I guess. Something like that.
So I like to think one day Don Callis was sitting in his office booking Impact, and he was like, I'm going to book a scramble match. I need the best scramble wrestlers in the world. Yeah. Sammy Callahan's there. He's like, I know a guy.
I have the #1 scramble wrestler. Yeah, I can only assume that's exactly what happened.
Oh, brilliant. Let's move on. But yeah, your match on Impact, how did that come about? What an opportunity that must have been for you.
Yeah, it was so much fun, man. So it was quite a long story one way or another. But Fight Club were taking me to WrestleMania weekend and asked Sammy if I could be on Revolver, and then Sammy, because I think they were one of the first companies to book Sammy in England, and he's like real big on like paying it back and stuff. So he was like, oh yeah, like of course I'll have him on. He gave me a X Division title match against Rich Swann that weekend, actually.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, and then he was like, and if he wants to come out and like stay with me or train with me, like I'll get him on shows, get him experience and stuff. So I went and stayed with him for like a month in Ohio, and obviously he's like a really big, he's the draw over at Impact. So I was wrestling on mostly the same shows as him the whole time, and he was going up to Canada to do Impact. So I came along. It was at Santino Morella's gym as well, which was pretty cool. And the first time I was just kind of hanging out and like helping out and hanging out backstage, trying to just pester Jimmy Jacobs about how creative works and stuff. And it was really cool to watch it and get to see everyone. And then I went back, I guess it must have been a couple of weeks later, we were back in a different part of Canada, and they had a spot for me in the scramble, so that was really cool. And yeah, how crazy is that? I got to wrestle with Pete Williams and stuff. And also, luckily, Zachary Wentz was, not that, I mean, everyone was super duper cool at Impact anyway, but it was nice to have some friendly faces in there. You know, like Zachary Wentz was in there, and like just every chance he got when we were planning, he'd be like, oh yeah, I like Mambo's spot to go there. I think that would be cool. So it was nice to have him, like, you know, putting in a good word for me. And then it was so fun. I forgot kind of like, I don't know if I forgot, but because it was TV, I almost forgot that there would be like a crowd there that was super excited, because like I get so amped up when I'm wrestling because of like all the energy from the crowd, you know. And then as soon as you go out, it's just like this super fun, like family and adult crowd that are like really, really fun to sort of play to. So you almost forget that you're on TV.
Yeah, do you know, it seemingly came out of nowhere as well. Like, I had no idea about it. And at the time, we have a podcast that comes out on Wednesday that reviews Impact.
Oh, cool.
So I was on that podcast at the time. And I just to see you on my TV, I'm like, there's Chuck Mambo. Like, what's he doing there?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool thing to just keep under wraps. But also the other thing was like, I'm really bad at knowing about the. Obviously, it's great now because they're on weekly TV, and that's sweet for them. But I'm just really bad at knowing about scheduling and stuff like that. So I barely knew when it was coming out in America. And it comes out different in America to England, so I didn't want to like spoil the surprise or anything. Luckily, I think I got it out just the right time. And then there was the time difference as well, so it's like,
yeah.
Hey,
I think at one point it was on like a week delay or something as well. It was
I think it was
in the UK. It would come out like 8 days after it had already aired in the US.
yeah, but I should say another big thank you, because there was so many like nice messages from wrestlers and wrestling fans, and it was like really, really, really nice, all the support, like just from that match. So it was really cool. And actually, a big thanks to Eddie Dennis, because he was my initial point of contact with those guys, because Scott D'Amore trained Eddie Dennis out in Canada, like when he first started. And me and Eddie I used to drive Eddie to a school, Sacrifice Pro in Leighton Buzzard. It was funny. We spent like, I guess we spent like 3 or 4 hours in a car for a 2-hour training session on gym mats, but it was really fun. And Sacrifice is a great little place. And one time Scott D'Amore was in the country, and I guess Eddie invited him to like come and watch the training. So Scott and Don came along to watch the seminar, and Eddie wanted to like thought they shouldn't have to take the train because the training session went on quite late. So I drove him back to London, and we just got to hang out a little bit and that. And then when Sammy said to them, oh, hey, like I got this guy Mambo here, they were like, oh shit, we know Mambo. And then they were like really really nice from the moment I got there. So a lot of thanks to everyone for that one. Sammy, Fight Club, Impact, Eddie, Scott and Don. And hopefully I get to go back there sometime. That'd be sweet.
That would be awesome.
Especially, did you see any of Hard to Kill?
I've not seen it yet because I've been I've recently started a new job. I've been so busy, but it's on my list of things to go back and watch.
That was a busy day for good wrestling, eh? It's a busy time for good wrestling, actually. I can't keep up with it all. But
it seems everywhere you go, there's just good wrestling everywhere.
Yeah, I love it.
So, Chuck, one of the things you're known for is your time-traveling surfboard.
Oh, yeah.
I want to ask you, if you could use that surfboard to travel back in time and watch any one wrestling match from the history, which match would it be? Oh man, like just as you were asking that question, but I've seen it so many times it would be a waste. But I'd love to watch I'd love to have just been there live to watch Taka Michinoku versus Pantera on Raw.
Wait, yeah, it was my era. Yeah.
That was back when Raw had like that crazy
wicked cruiserweight
junior division, right?
Yeah, it was so good. I was so young when I watched Raw first time around, and I was like playing with toys and stuff whilst I was watching it. But this time around, all those matches are fucking phenomenal.
Because I only started watching sort of late 2001, early 2002, so like after the Attitude Era was like dying out. So I would have missed all of that. But recently I went back on the WWE Network and started watching a load of stuff from 1998. Didn't even know this division existed. Like watching it, like, oh my God, what is this? This is incredible.
It's wild, isn't it? Yeah, I like on the other side of that, I went and did like WC, because I never really watched WCW. I went from like Bash at the Beach, Hogan's like turn, watched all the pay-per-views through to like 2000 or whatever, and they always open with like a wicked cruiserweight match. So it was a cool time for cruiserweight wrestling, I guess. I cannot remember who he was against, but wasn't Ric Flair in like the highest attended wrestling match in history in like North Korea?
Oh, so yeah, I've seen something about that. Did that match actually happen? Because I know North Korea have a sterling history of being very honest and well,
I think so. It was in my book about New Japan that I got for Christmas, so it must be true. But just from like every kind of interesting, isn't it? Like, that's crazy.
Oh, for sure, because that would actually be like a history-making moment.
Yeah, and just so, I mean, I'm not saying that it would be, I'm not smart enough. I assume there might have been some very dubious human rights going on, but it would have been like a hell of a thing to have seen. Although, if we're talking about that, if New Japan put that on, I'd love to have seen that wrestling match where Hogan and Inoki wrestled, and like Hogan was just absolutely sick at wrestling for a match. Wouldn't that have been something?
Again, I didn't even know this whole thing. I didn't even know Hogan was in New Japan until recently. One of my mates pointed it out, and I just got a whole load of stuff that I need to go back and watch.
Yeah, and there's this really cool promo on YouTube, like, and I love Hulk Hogan promos where he's like, feeling the power of the Hulkamaniacs. But he just has this really like sat down with someone just being like, no, I'm here, Hulk Hogan. The WWF title was a stepping stone to get to the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. I want to prove I'm Ishiban. And he's just like really like played down. I was like, oh man, that's pretty cool to see. Like a whole different side to the Hulkster. But I feel like I must be missing some kind of like crazy matches that I could have gone back to see, No, I don't know. I guess that. You know what? If I could have been there live for the triangle ladder match at WrestleMania 16, that would have been cool.
Oh yeah, so that's sort of the birth of the TLC match, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think that was like the first WrestleMania that I remember being old enough to like remember, and know what was going on.
So I think 16 is not widely viewed on in a positive light looking back.
That's such bullshit. All the WrestleManias that mean anything to me, everyone says they're shit. I watched WrestleMania 9 because I got it at car boots out, and everyone says it was shit, but I thought it was really fucking cool. And then now I'm hearing that WrestleMania 16 wasn't any good. Fuck you, Internet. Why wasn't 16 good?
I think it was the main event, and the main event should have been The Rock and Triple H, and the McMahons just had to involve himself. And
is that the McMahon in every corner?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, fair enough. All right, well, as long as they didn't have a problem with the triple threat ladder match thing.
No, that's sick.
Although I do remember, I guess maybe the internet isn't written by 8-year-old children, but as an 8-year-old, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. There's a McMahon in every corner. So, it didn't completely fall. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like Vince McMahon knows what he's doing. You don't become like a billionaire without knowing what you're doing.
I guess not.
He knows a thing or two about the graphs.
Yeah. watching that last WWE UK takeover thing, I don't know who's running that. Probably not Vince, but they know it. That was such a sick pay-per-view.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Nice. Hey, how about you? What would your last match be to go back and watch? Not last match, you're not dead, right?
I don't know, because I wasn't expecting to be asked this, but
lucky for you can edit it out if you don't have a good answer.
The match I'd have to say is probably my favourite match. Styles, Daniels, Joe from TNA 2005.
That's a good shout. Yeah, nice.
I think that was the first time I'd watched a match and just been like, this is insane. This is the best thing I've seen.
Hell yeah. Good choice, man. I felt that way my first Progress chapter. It was like chapter 9. It was Swords of Essex first. Oh, no, I'm telling a lie. I did feel that way at my first Progress chapter, but that was because Jimmy turned and like the atmosphere in the room was fucking crazy. But FSU versus Swords of Essex. First time I saw that, I was like, blew my mind about what wrestling can be.
I definitely need to go check that match out.
Oh yeah, dude, yeah, definitely do. It's insane. That whole chapter was just wildly good.
Oh, speaking of Progress, I was just looking back at I started watching Progress. Chapter 54, I think, was my first show.
Oh, nice, man.
Seen a couple of shows on demand before that. The 55, the first show at Ali Pali, you and Spike had the first ever match at that venue. Yeah,
man. It was a nice thing to be able to say. I never really think about that. I suppose technically I won the first match at Wembley as well. But that, I guess Ali Pali will always be a really pretty special place for me wrestling wise, because I got to have that like match with Zach there that really broke me out into another level of sort of respect, I think, hopefully, or like another level of wrestling, which was really cool. And to be in Super Strong Style 16, which is like always one of my big bucket lists for wrestling, and then got to be in that cool feud match where it was DNR against the Dinosaurs, which I mean, we didn't win, which was a real shame, but it was still a hell of a match to be a part of.
That was a great match. I was front row for that. That was incredible.
Yeah, it was real fun, right? And everything with like Eddie and Mark having the hug, and yeah, just to be a part of like some complete chaos there. So it's been, Ali Pali is like definitely a near and dear venue in my wrestling career. Hopefully, I'll get to win a Super Strong Style there at some point. Ooh.
So that sounds like the perfect time to wrap it up. Chuck, thanks for joining me today.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Thank you so much. As podcasts go, this has been like one of the flowiest, funnest ones. Thank you so much for actually,
thank you so much, because honestly, this is like only the second time I've ever done one. But but Tom Dawkins, like Karen Noir, was like the first one I've ever done.
Let's jump in. I guess not really, because he's so easy to talk to, but... And thank you to any listeners who made it all the way through my weird voice and stupid rambling.
Where can they find you on social media?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at Chuck Mambo, just all one word on both of those, or youtube.com/TKMETM if you want to watch Escaping the Midcard with me and TK. Although I think since Christmas it's been on a little bit of a break, but there's still some fun old episodes and something new's bound to come out soon. We just won some titles, so we have to put one out.
I just seen as well, you will have to make a comeback for the Rock Paper Scissors 16.
Oh my god, I really hope that we are there that weekend so that we can do Rock Paper Scissors 16, because that's honestly one of my proudest achievements in wrestling. Everyone pays £1 and the winner gets £16.
You know, I didn't know what was going on. I was just in the queue. You come over. You're like, who wants to be in the rock, paper, scissors tournament? I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, me.
We did it.
Yeah, I made it through the first round.
Well, you know, it's a tough.
Then got eliminated, so.
Better to have tried. I mean, it's cutthroat. Some say it's 50-50. Some say it's 33-33, but.
I say it's about 1 to 16.
Yeah, well, yeah. But it'd be great if we could do that again. But after DNR and everything, I'm not really sure quite where I fit, if at all, at Progress, unfortunately. But never say never. It'd be lovely to be back there.
And where can we find some of your merch?
Thank you. You can find it at mambomerch.bigcartel.com or etmworld.bigcartel.com. And there's bound to be some exciting new merch there that isn't t-shirts sometime in not too long.
Once again, Chuck, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you all for listening. See you next time.
Yeah, thank you, man.